When the smoke cleared at Austerlitz in December 1805, Napoleon stood at the height of his power. Austria was forced into submission. Russia retreated from the war, and the Holy Roman Empire would soon cease to exist, replaced by new alliances under French influence. But peace in Europe would not last. Napoleon's victories had terrified the old monarchies. His dominance over Central Europe and his creation of the Confederation of the Rhine deeply unsettled one major power that had stayed neutral so far, Prussia. Prussia had watched the Third Coalition collapse and felt both humiliated and threatened by Napoleon's reshaping of Germany. For decades, Prussia had dreamed of being the leading German power, but now the Confederation of the Rhine placed dozens of German states under French influence, pushing Prussia aside. Prussia's King Frederick William III, pressured by his court, his generals, and rising anti-French sentiment, finally chose war. In October 1806, Prussia declared war on France, believing it could rally German nationalism and check Napoleon's power. But Prussia gravely underestimated its new enemy. Napoleon moved with his usual speed. Within weeks, he led the Grande Armée into Prussian territory. The Prussians, though brave, were still fighting in the style of Frederick the Great, slow-moving, rigid, and unprepared for Napoleon's modern tactics. On October 14, 1806, the fate of Prussia was decided in a single day at the twin battles of Jena and Auerstedt. At Jena, Napoleon crushed one half of the Prussian army. Meanwhile, to the north, Marshal Davout, with just a single corps, defeated a larger Prussian force at Auerstedt. The Prussians were stunned, their armies dissolved in retreat, and within days, French forces were marching into Berlin. In less than 3 weeks, Napoleon had destroyed the Prussian military. The Prussian monarchy fled eastward, seeking protection under Russia. Napoleon's occupation of Berlin was more than symbolic. From the Prussian capital, he issued the Berlin Decree, formally beginning the Continental System. This was Napoleon's economic strategy to blockade Britain, banning European nations from trading with the British in hopes of crippling their economy. Meanwhile, Tsar Alexander I of Russia was gathering his forces. The Russian army, now determined to halt Napoleon's advance, moved west into Poland. So the war shifted eastward into unfamiliar terrain. The French entered Poland, greeted in some areas as liberators by Poles who saw Napoleon as a possible restorer of their lost nation. In the bitter cold winter of 1806 to 1807, both armies maneuvered and clashed repeatedly across muddy roads and snow-covered fields. No single battle proved decisive, but Napoleon kept pressing forward. Then, in February 1807, the two sides collided at the Battle of Eylau. Fought amid blizzards and freezing winds, Eylau was one of the most brutal battles of the Napoleonic Wars. The carnage was horrific. Though Napoleon technically held the field, it was no clear victory. Tens of thousands lay dead or wounded, and for the first time, Napoleon's aura of invincibility began to crack. But Napoleon regrouped. As spring arrived, he launched another offensive, seeking to knock Russia out of the war. On June 14, 1807, he met the Russians again at the Battle of Friedland. This time, Napoleon achieved a decisive victory. The Russian army was shattered. Tsar Alexander I, realizing further resistance was hopeless, agreed to negotiate. In July 1807, the two emperors met on a raft in the middle of the Niemen River near the town of Tilsit. There they signed the Treaties of Tilsit, redrawing the map of Europe yet again. Under these treaties, Prussia lost nearly half its territory. New states were created, including the Duchy of Warsaw, reviving hopes among the Polish people. Russia agreed to join the Continental System and became, for a time, an uneasy ally of France. Napoleon was now master of Europe, from the Atlantic coast to the Russian frontier, but his dominance was not complete. Britain remained defiant. Spain was simmering with unrest. And across Europe, resentment was growing toward French control, high taxes, and the economic hardship caused by the Continental System. Though the War of the Fourth Coalition had ended in Napoleon's favor, seeds of future conflict were already sown. Napoleon had won another war, but the cost was rising, and soon his empire would face challenges even he could not foresee.